It is clear that you do not agree with the decision of the jury, but the jury must be respected. Their decision must be respected. And they have made a decision that his actions were not lawful, and that must be respected. I also want to point out something that I found very interesting, and that is, Ms. Murray, you indicated that that the state wanted to look at this as one-sided and was about what Nelson did and not take into account what Jesse Saray did. What I would say to those who are here in support of Officer Nelson, you too are one-sided. What I continually heard was that he's a good man, that there's not a bad bone in his body, that he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. The videos are not accurate, the evidence about his actions and what occurred that day. That the prosecutor is attempting to obtain an unfair representation of who he is. That he's a man of integrity and honor. What I say to you is that the court would find your statements more credible if there was some acknowledgement of things that this court knows. And what this court knows about then Officer Nelson is that he had a propensity to alter police reports in ways where it appeared that things were not as they seem and that his version was the more truthful. When I look at his own words tell me who he was. When he, in a police situation involving youth of color, specifically says to his partner, "Do you want to F them up? I want to F them up." If he is such a professional and a man of integrity, wearing an Auburn uniform, police uniform, which a badge, having sworn an oath to protect and serve, which applies to all people within the community, particularly those of the most vulnerable, how is that professional? How is that a man of integrity? And to those who would say that he has had a bad day, I agree. We all have moments when we are not professional. We speak harshly to someone. We aren't on our best behavior. There is a difference between speaking harshly and intentionally wanting to harm someone when you have taken an oath to protect and serve. That is not a bad day. That is not given stress. There's a quote that says that, and I want to be specific because I found this and I thought it was very applicable to the situation. Again, I apologize. A lot of notes up here. If you want to test a man's character, give him power. In this situation, I would add, give him power, badge, and a gun. Character is who you are when no one is looking. When Officer Nelson thought that no one was looking and that no one, because of his good deeds that others knew about, would question his integrity, he took the opportunity to harm others. Those are his words. Those are not the words of the prosecution. Those are out of his mouth. And again, those are not situations where he was having a bad day and he was stressed out and yelled at someone or falsely accused them of speaking harshly to them. He said, "I want to F them up." He is a police officer. He said and admitted he wanted to commit the crime of assaulting someone. That is who his character is. The person that I read in those statements is not the person that your words and your conduct have shown you to be in situations. And again, this court says this and wants everyone in this courtroom to remember that history is always written by the victor, meaning that the person who has the most power will always get to portray and determine how the story is written. In the incidents over your 11 years as an Auburn police officer, you were the one with all the power and all the control. We know of many incidences where you were disingenuous, dishonest, disingenuous, dishonest, and sought to hurt others. We know that your police reports were not always accurately a display of your actions. And because of that, I cannot help but wonder, even though we had that, although it's been argued that this is only a few instances of misconduct over an 11-year career, if we spoke to others who were not the victors in their story, how many of them would have come into contact with the egotistical Officer Nelson that Jesse Suray saw, the last person he saw, the man who took his life on May 31st of 2019? Since their stories cannot be told, there is something broken in any person that wishes to harm others just for the spite of it. And your own words tell me that there's some piece of you that is okay doing that, because again, why else would you say wearing a badge, when you're wearing an Auburn police uniform and a badge, I wanna F them up. Let's F them up. When I look at the community here, I look at the community of law enforcement, and specifically, I look at the issue that today and always there's been a large number of officers of Auburn PD who honestly, I would take your statements more credible and I would give them more weight if you at least acknowledge that this man has a past that is not consistent with the person you saw. Not one single person did that, and the videos speak for themselves. So that tells me that the Auburn Police Department will stand by anyone and everyone as long as they have a badge and a uniform. Because you didn't even acknowledge. If I'd heard a family member, a police officer, the assistant chief acknowledge that you missed it, that when you were giving him the awards and giving him the award of valor, that you missed that he had told people that he wanted to F them up. He wanted to, that is significant to this court. And the fact that you continue to stand by him, knowing these things. And again, that is not the state interpreting a video or asking the court to interpret videos or statements. That is your former colleague's own words and own actions. Did you even watch that video? Are you okay with that? By what you said today, it seems that you are. That's concerning. Leslie Cushman was someone that was heavily involved in the creation of I-940, which became RCW 9-16040. And I think Leslie Cushman says it best when in their statement they said that the law addressing the misconduct of the police was substantially modernized and improved, and how an officer's conduct or discipline prior to this date is not a good benchmark at all. And that, again, goes to the marks I just said. In this instance, the jury had all types of information before it. They had information and had to determine, they had reams of information on your training records. They had reams and days of testimony about the video and how to digest it. They had testimony from experts about your training, and that you had been trained to de-escalate. And there's no dispute that Jesse Suray, at the time of this, was in mental health crisis, and that he had an underlying mental health issue and substance abuse addiction. Yet, in in spite of all that, they found that you failed to follow your training, that you failed to de-escalate or do something else in a situation. And it's also undisputed that Jesse, at the time you encountered him, was not engaging in the behavior of being in traffic or in any way a danger to himself or others. He wasn't stealing something from the store or causing havoc. He was sitting sitting against the refrigerated ice chest, going through a box looking for something to drink and eat. In the state of Washington versus defendant Jeffrey A. Nelson, on the count 1 of the charge, which is murder in the second degree, the defense asking for a mitigation downward of 78, the state asking for the high end of 220 months. The court will impose 200. On the count of the jury having found you guilty on the count 2 on assault in the first degree, I will sentence you to the 123 months. That will run concurrent with one another.